If Doge illegally firing and destroying the U.S. government for Putin isn't the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If illegally deporting people, concentration camps, all the Roman salute stuff isn't the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If the tariff grift, destroying our economy, destroying American businesses, again for Putin, if destroying international relations, if making a whipsaw of the stock market to grift money and brag about how many billions Charles Schwab made, isn't the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If advancing Pope Francis isn't the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If cutting off all the funding for the veterans and replacing their parade and kicking veterans out of their houses by ending the funding for the program that pays some of their mortgages, or tens of thousands of their mortgages, making more and more homeless veterans, trying to change the name of Veterans Day to some stuff about World War I because he resents his side losing World War II, having a birthday parade instead of, or a military birthday parade. If none of this stuff, and displacing veterans who are usually celebrating there in order to have his military parade, if none of this stuff is the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If trying to revoke citizenship of babies, which I think, since we haven't revoked the citizenship of anyone before, just suggesting that should mean the only person that idea applies to is you. If you try to revoke the citizenship of babies, you should have your citizenship revoked and you should be deported and your house should be given to an immigrant. Justice Thomas and Alito, etc., any lawyers or anyone supporting this case on the media, anyone who leaves a comment supporting this case should be given the option to retract that comment and become American again, or also have their citizenship revoked and they should be deported and their house given to an immigrant. But if trying to do that isn't the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? If calling Joe Biden a robot last night, in the middle of the night, calling Joe Biden a robot, and there's so many I missed out on because I didn't plan this very well. But there's so many other things that should have been the last straw. And if they're not the last straw, if calling Joe Biden a robot, like, are we waiting for him to accidentally send nuclear bombs somewhere? Is that what we're waiting for? Oh yeah, how could I forget this one? If maximizing the war crimes in Gaza is not the last straw, at least for some people who didn't vote correctly because of that issue, if that's not the last straw, what's the last straw going to be? How much worse is it going to be? But right now, 25th Amendment, calling Joe Biden a robot, is not just impeachable, but removable. You remove them immediately under the 25th Amendment. They're obviously unfit for office. Can this be the last straw? Finally, as silly as this is, as silly as calling Joe Biden a robot compared to everything else, throwing Ukraine under the bus. If throwing Ukraine under the bus isn't the last straw, throwing Ukraine to Putin, if destroying America, obviously destroying America for Putin. Putin runs America right now. It's Russia too. But he's such an idiot. Instead of just profiting off of it, he wants to destroy it because of USSR. Oh, so sad for USSR. We should make Russia not a country anymore, split it in three between Ukraine, China, and Turkey, and maybe do the same for America, split it in two, ask politely for Canada and Mexico to annex us, and say that's what we want so you can facilitate land back to indigenous people, but we don't get to be a country anymore. We've shown we don't deserve that. We can't handle that responsibility. So, Canada, Celine Dion, would you guys mind annexing half? And Mexico, would you guys mind annexing half? Facilitate land back to the indigenous people, state that as the stated purpose of doing it, and to stop this country from being this country anymore, since we haven't been able to protect ourselves from the evils of Putin and Trump. But yeah, this is the last straw. Let's make this the last straw. Put Putin's puppy in the pound. Let's impeach Trump now, but also let's just remove him from office now. You can still impeach him so that stuff gets on the record, but have him be a removed president from office and be impeaching Vance and Johnson. Impeach all the way down to Kiefer Sutherland, or impeach all the way down to elevate Jasmine Crockett, promote Jasmine Crockett, and then impeach down to Jasmine Crockett. Then we get Jasmine Crockett, a real American president, this year with any luck, by the latest 2026. But we need Jasmine Crockett or AOC for our next president, if any. Thanks.